Afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for everyone that has made this incredible event possible. I can only imagine the amount of work required to get us to this point. I am super excited to be here, and in fact, the energy in the room feels almost like we're actually launching a rocket. So I'm very happy to be part of that energy. I've been working on moonshots for about the last 10 years in Silicon Valley and also in Europe, most recently at the other moonshot factory. You heard from Astro. I was working at Alpha in Spain. And when Astro and I talk, we sort of think about those two groups as the moonshot factories by our definition of a moonshot. Of course, there are many other folks working on moonshot level projects. So I thought I would share with you the answers to 5 questions about moonshots. What is a moonshot, first of all? Why do we need them? Should we be undertaking moonshots? How do you manage this complicated beast, and why should you be doing that personally? So just to begin with some definitions, just so that we're all on the same page. What is a moonshot? But I think the question that comes before this is, what is innovation? Because I think moonshots and innovation are closely related. My operating definition for innovation is quite simple. It's merely something new in the world, but that also has had significant impact. So quite straightforward. I like to differentiate between innovation and invention. This very interesting machine, the orange thing on the left, made by this very clever person. That is not Astro, it looks like Astro, but is, I'm sure, an incredible piece of machinery, but I have no idea what it does. It was created in this underground lab. So incredible invention, 0 impact on the world, not innovation. In contrast, the Walkman, also an invention, but has had a profound impact on the way that we relate with music, even today. I would say that is a big innovation. So, what is a moonshot? When I started working on moonshots, I thought this or something like it was a moonshot. So very, very big, very audacious. And if you weren't working on something like that, you didn't qualify for moonshot status. And after a decade, actually only very recently in the last month or two, I've completely changed my perspective on this. And you could think of moonshots as extra, extra, extra large innovation. I think that's part of it. But really quite simply, I think it's something that is very, very hard to do, but is also critically important to you. So your moonshot is likely to be very different than my moonshot. This is a kind of a foundational definition upon which then we can build specificity for individual programs. So why do we need moonshots? Maybe this is a silly question given the context of this meeting. We're here for 2 days talking about moonshots. Do we really need them? I think we do, and here's the reason. There's this curve. So think historically about humanity's capabilities, going back maybe 15,000 years. Our capabilities as a species have been going up, up, and up, largely due to the development of technology. And some people worry that when this curve becomes vertical and technology becomes extremely powerful so that all of our desires are met by technology, something bad will happen and we'll turn into people like this, because technology will do everything for us. I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason is there's another curve. And I call it the curve of opportunity or the curve of expectations. Something particular about humans, something very strange. As soon as we achieve something new, we immediately want to achieve more. So we build, design, engineer, and build the world's tallest building. By the time that we have the big opening ceremony, the ribbon cutting, somebody's already building a taller building, right? And it's just a natural part, I think, of the human experience. So as our capabilities increase, so do our demands on our capabilities, and that's why I think we have an unending need for innovation. This is a self-sustaining cycle. But occasionally, we need more. We need moonshots. So when we are presented with a problem that we maybe have never been presented with before, is larger than anything we've ever tried to achieve, we need a discontinuity. We need to break the curve. And that's what I think moonshots are for. So we need moonshots from time to time to solve these big problems that we've never faced before. But should you be doing them? Is this something you really want to sign up for? It's very fashionable right now to talk about moonshots, very exciting. But is this really something you're prepared for? Remember, very briefly, I gave you this definition of a moonshot, and I want to zoom into 2 words here. Moonshots are very, very hard. You heard it from Astro. You're hearing it from me. We have actually been working in the trenches trying to build moonshots. It is extremely difficult. The thing is, it's easy to talk about things being difficult. It's easy to talk about risk. Today, in this beautiful room, surrounded by brilliant people, that's comfortable. The hard part comes when things actually start to get difficult. I think maybe moonshots are a little bit like a pet tiger. It sounded good at the time, but then things got difficult or complicated. So I think you have to ask yourself, do you really want a pet tiger? And I think if you look at this picture, by the way, look at the little girl and the look on her face. She's the only one that is worried in this picture because she understands the risk. I think she's probably the only smart person in this photograph. So I think moonshots are a little bit like taking on a pet tiger. If you do decide, you better be sure and you better be committed. So I would encourage you to search deeply within yourself and come to terms with this reality. Okay, so let's say that you do search deeply and you come out of that conversation with yourself, with your colleagues, and you decide, yes, we're going to do moonshots. How do we manage that? I think, and this sounds simplistic, but I think the 2 most important things are clear definition and good measurement of any moonshot program. And I'll give you some examples. So first of all, you have to be crystal clear on your moon, right? The goals, the target that you're trying to hit. And at the same time, you need to be crystal clear on the shot. How are you going to get to the moon? Then it's important to measure the progress of your moon shot. When I was at Alpha, we would constantly measure every moonshot candidate in 6 dimensions or 6 criteria with 5 dimensions each. So in 30 data points, we could tell in real time, so this was a real-time dashboard, if anyone from management and so forth came in and said, how is that moonshot going? I had an answer. And I could give you, this is exactly where the next step is, this is exactly the progress that we're making to that particular goal, and then we could make smart decisions about that particular candidate. It took us a while to learn this. I think we had some missteps early on. We suffered because we didn't have the ability to very accurately define and very accurately measure the path for a moonshot candidate. The other thing that I think is important is not to think about moonshots one-dimensionally. And often technology becomes kind of this dominating force as we develop moonshots and work through them. So I think about moonshots through these 4 lenses, not just a single one. So certainly, are we taking advantage of an exponential technology? Also, are we solving a big problem? Is this a grand challenge? Is this worthy of a moonshot? Is this eventually going to be a sustainable business? If it's not, you're going to run out of fuel, because business is what is going to fuel these things in the long run. They get very, very expensive once they're 5, 10 years old, so it has to be a viable business. And fourth, maybe most importantly, is with this moonshot, are we creating a desirable future? Is this something that we actually want when it all plays out? Now, moonshots are done by people, and I think it is critical, and success or failure will depend almost entirely on the team that you assemble to work on your moonshot. One model that I like to use when I've built my teams in the past is this. There are different ones. You can use high-performance sports teams. I use this as a U.S. Special Forces group, and they share a lot of the qualities that a good Moonshot team has, and they are the following. They're small. These teams are small, they're nimble, they're agile, they're low profile, they fly below the radar, they don't get too much attention, and they're able to make fast decisions in a high-risk environment. This team is high performance. These are the best people that you have available. I mean, if you think about it, and we've heard the conversations this morning, you are entrusting these people with the future of your society. So it would behoove us to choose and assemble a team of the very best people that we can get our hands on. These teams are very good at taking calculated risk. So these men specifically go into some of the most dangerous situations imaginable, but they don't do it because they like to take risks. They like to go home in the end. So they're very good at understanding the risks in the situation, minimizing those risks as quickly as possible, and then achieving the mission. Moonshot teams should be the same. So they're the best people you could find. You're entrusting them with a huge job. Please support them and make sure they are the best trained and the best equipped they can possibly be. I assure you that these men don't go into battle with cheap guns and broken radios, right? They have the very best support that they can possibly have. Your Moonshot teams will need the same from you. You heard Astro talk a little bit about diversity. This is one of the things I believe in most. Moonshots are multidimensional, they're complex, they're unpredictable, and I think diversity is almost a secret weapon against these challenges. The last team I built at Alpha was 50% men, 50% women, including engineering and science disciplines. Out of 15 people, we represented 12 countries, spoke probably 16, 17 different languages. We had an age range of 20 to over 50, and all kinds of different backgrounds. Neuroscientists, roboticists, fine artists, a musician, all of these are necessary in order to break through the barriers and see things in a different way. I'll even share that we did some workshops with a group of people with different cognitive abilities, people on the Asperger's spectrum, because they see the world in an entirely different way. And we wanted to include this different perspective in the way we thought about things. This one, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but so you've assembled this incredible team, you've asked them to do the impossible. I would say now, leave them alone. Stay out of their way. Let them do what you've asked them to do. Surprisingly, this is a common failure mode. People they start out with good intentions, and then management, senior leadership starts to say, oh, we have a pet tiger. The pet tiger reality starts to set in, and more control comes in, and you're not letting these brilliant people who you've brought in to do the work to actually do the work. So this is sometimes hard for leadership to let the teams do what they need to do, excuse me, but is important. This leads me to culture. So once you have the people, you need to give them an environment where they will thrive and be able to actually deliver moonshots and moonshot thinking. One of the things I will agree with Astro here, super important to get outside. This is a mentality, also sort of a to-do list item. And getting outside can mean many different things. This is my team in a very remote area of Peru. It took them 4 days to get to this village, and they're talking to locals that would actually be using this technology that they're developing. A skyscraper in Barcelona is no place to develop technology for these people unless you have an intimate understanding of their needs. We also want to be open in terms of the way we work and the way we exchange ideas. This is my team at an advanced manufacturing facility at Airbus in Europe. And we do this on a regular basis, and we're establishing relationships, we're establishing friendships, so that at some point down the line, we have this big network of really friends that are happy to jump in and help on a project at any time. And I guarantee you that such a network will outperform every single time a team that is working in isolation on its own, no matter how smart those people are. And I think it's also important for a Moonshot team to expose itself to new, different, and maybe sometimes uncomfortable ideas. Your people should go where they've never been, they should talk to people they've never talked to, and they should experience things they are not comfortable with. When I was at Autodesk in San Francisco, I brought my team to Burning Man every year. That's me in the passenger seat. And for those of you that don't know Burning Man, you can ask me tonight after a few drinks. But initially, this was a place we were very nervous about being involved in. It's a fringe, arguably a fringe cultural event, and we learned a lot by going there and became really part of that community. And finally, I think it's very important to build a culture of strong ethics. So deep down, culturally, ethics needs to be at the heart of what these people are living and breathing. Why? Because moonshots, the scale of moonshots means that by definition, they're going to have enormous cultural and societal impact. So we better get it right. And this has to be infused at the core of the team's culture. Okay, last point. Why Japan? Why are we in Tokyo today and not somewhere else? I think there's one important and actually exciting reason. Japan has a lot of problems. Serious ones, and you've heard them this morning: aging population, declining birth rates, particular susceptibility to climate change and extreme natural disasters and weather events, depletion of strategic natural resources. But we could also think of these as opportunities. The most important thing for me today is that Japan, in many ways, will be facing these problems first. You saw the aging population curve. Japan is leading the way in facing that challenge, but the rest of the world will follow. So these are problems that we're all going to face. Japan actually has the opportunity to be the first to start to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. So please, on behalf of the rest of the world, I ask you to lead the way. I would say good luck for all of us. Thank you very much.